You can't be going through the day distracted by trivia. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, and in this video we will discuss why psychology supports minimalism. Minimalism is a lifestyle of owning and consuming less to have more focus for priorities and things that truly matter. Being less occupied with possessions and overconsumption can remove distraction from your life and then give you the space you need to feel peace and the clarity of purpose. Being minimal means that you're aware that consuming and possessing can only give you a certain amount of comfort, and if it is over-exaggerated, it actually leads to stress, diversion, unhappiness, or even sickness. Now, you don't have to be an extremist in order to be minimalist. There's actually many different ways of being minimal, and already small steps can help you improve the quality of your life and get you to feel those positive effects of minimalism. Today I'd like to introduce you to two concepts from psychology that explain the positive effects of minimalism. The first concept is decision fatigue. Decision fatigue means that we actually get tired by making decisions. So you can picture this as a big tank of energy that we have in the morning that gets filled up overnight when we rejuvenate and fill up the energy tank that we used the previous day. And every decision that you make will draw a little bit of energy from this tank. And actually, not only decisions draw energy from this tank, other things as well. Planning, focusing, any kind of focus you're investing. So the question really is, what do you want to use this energy for? It could very well be that the first bit of energy goes away, deciding if you're going to press snooze or not. Then the next bit of energy is used up by deciding what you're going to wear that day. The next bit of energy is going to be used up because you have to decide what to eat for breakfast. These are just some examples, and there are areas of life where it's easier for you to make decisions or to oversee many things, and then other areas where you feel overwhelmed if you have too many choices. And the trick is really to know yourself and to know where you need to reduce complexity, where you need to reduce the amount of choices that you have, and where it's maybe easier for you to deal with a lot of options. There are many examples of people voluntarily reducing the amount of options they have to choose from in order to save their valuable energy for bigger projects. For example, Albert Einstein and Steve Jobs are said to have had the same outfit a couple of times in their closet, so that in the morning they don't even have to think for 1 second, what am I going to wear? Because they have one outfit to choose from and they know it matches, and that's it. I also found a nice quote by Obama, who told Vanity Fair, "You'll see I only wear gray or blue suits. I'm trying to pare down decisions. I don't want to make decisions about what I'm eating or wearing, because I have too many other decisions to make." You need to focus your decision-making energy. You can't be going through the day distracted by trivia. So in summary, decision fatigue is a phenomenon that explains that we get tired by making decisions and that each decision draws on a valuable amount of energy that we have that is limited. And minimalism can reduce the effect of decision fatigue by making the landscape that we have to manage simpler, by reducing options, and in this way help us save valuable energy for things that are more important to us. So this actually really boils down to knowing what is important to you, where you want to invest energy in your life, and where you would rather keep things simple so that you have energy for things that are just more important to you. The second reason why psychology supports minimalism is habituation. Habituation describes the fact that our sensitivity for a certain stimulus decreases with repeated exposure to that stimulus. That was a lot of psychological slang, and what that means is that if we are in the same situation again and again, or if we hear, smell, taste, see the same thing again and again, over time we stop noticing that thing. This is important because our brain can save energy by only bringing new things and changes to our awareness and not keeping us alert of every little thing that's going on around us at all times. So one very typical example of this is the smell that you can perceive when you enter a room. In that moment when you enter the room, you can smell what it smells like. But after a couple of minutes of being in that room, you stop perceiving the smells of that room. This also applies to other things. We get used to things in life. We get used to where we live. We get used to how healthy we are. We get used to the food we eat. We get used to even the money that we earn. And we actually stop being excited about these things. Now, I'm not trying to speak about whether habituation is good or bad, because that's just a fact. That's just how our brains work. The question is more how we deal with it. And here I've noted down 2 ways of dealing with habituation that lead to very different outcomes. The first way of dealing with habituation is adding stimulus upon stimulus to keep yourself stimulated and in a state of pleasure. So what you can see here is kind of the wave of pleasure we experience when we are exposed to something that is pleasurable and new. This is the pleasurable thing, whatever it is, maybe something new that we bought, or maybe some delicious food. And you can see that we enjoy it for a while, it brings us some pleasure, but after some time, our neurons will actually stop firing that they're excited about this stimulus because of the process of habituation. So at some point, the brain will stop feeling excited about this thing. What we can do now is to pack another stimulus on top of this stimulus, to go out and shop again, or to add a little more sugar or fat into our food. And then you can see that the neurons will start firing again because they're saying, hey, this is new. This level of sugar in my drink, or this amount of money that I'm spending on new things this week, that's something new. Wow, I'm excited. And after some time, we will also get used to that. And the pleasure curve will decrease again. And you can see that we can actually spend our life adding stimulus upon stimulus, eating more and more sugary and fat stuff, buying more and more things to try and keep ourselves in this zone of excitement and pleasure. And what is interesting is what actually happens if we then, after some time, return to this first stimulus that we had when we started. So as you can see, although the stimulus keep increasing, the amount of pleasure stays the same. And this is something that has many people fooled. They think, why is my pleasure not increasing? The stimuli that I am introducing into my life are decreasing. I own more. Why am I not happier? And the reason for this lies in habituation. And the thing is that if you after some time decide, okay, I have to reduce the amount of sugar I intake, I have to get back to a normal level of caffeine that I consume. What actually happens if you try to go back to what you deem as healthy for yourself, you actually go down in the amount of pleasure that you experience from this one stimulus, because the gap between what you were feeding your brain before and what you're feeding it now is just so big. And this is actually what makes it so difficult to reduce the amount of things we consume. So here you can actually see what happens when we engage in unending consumption. Luckily, there's a second healthy way of dealing with habituation. And this is where minimalism comes in. Because in the second way of dealing with habituation, you voluntarily refrain from certain stimuli in order to recover your brain's sensitivity to that stimulus. You can see what this second way looks like here. So the first part of the chart is exactly the same as here. We have a stimulus, we experience some pleasure while we are in contact with that stimulus, and then rather than in the second phase adding another stimulus on top of that stimulus, here we voluntarily refrain from that stimulus. We decide to go on a sugar break or to go on a no-buy. And then what happens when we eat sugar again or buy something again, we have a recovered sensitivity towards those activities and can feel the same amount of pleasure from that original small stimulus again, rather than needing to increase the stimuli from week to week in order to just stay in this pleasure zone. So by refraining from things, by voluntarily reducing consumption, we restore our brain's sensitivity towards the things that give us satisfaction and can stay in a healthy zone of eating, buying, and consuming in general. Now, I think we can all think of instances where we've been in this kind of a dynamic or this kind of a dynamic. And the point here is not to judge or condemn ourselves harshly. But what's important here is to make an inventory, to see, where am I in this kind of a dynamic? Where do I have working strategies of minimalism in my life? Or where am I in this kind of dynamic, spending too much energy and time on consumption and becoming unhealthy and discontent? What are some of the things that are going through your mind right now? Where do you feel the positive effects of minimalism by decreasing decision fatigue and dealing with habituation in a healthy way? Let me know in the comment section. Also, remember to subscribe if you're new here, leave a like and share the video with anyone who might benefit from it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next week.